This episode contains strong sexual content which may be offensive to some viewers. Listen at your own risk.
You are listening to the Bleach Brothers podcast, hosted by Jake the Hater and B-Word.
Welcome to the Bleach Brothers podcast. This is B-Word and Jake. How you doing tonight, buddy?
You know me.
Just hanging in there?
Oh yeah. You know, there's just some days, you know, you're up, then you're down, then it's like a goddamn roller coaster, right?
It's like a teenage boy's peepee.
Yeah, dude. Like, yeah, all right. Question about not teenage boys pee-pees, but pee-pees, right?
Okay.
You ever have that like morning wood piss?
Oh, I hate that one.
So I have a story where I peed on my wife, and she still does not know to this day that she listens to this, so now she's gonna know. But I peed on my wife one time by accident. So I pee in the shower. I'm one of those. I don't know if you are that guy.
Of course.
Like, I look at it like it's down the drain. There's soap. It all cleaned. I don't clean my shower. I got a nice big shower, but
right.
So the one thing I hate about morning wood, I'll say this, is like, why is morning wood like the hardest wood you ever have? Like, there are times you want like your wood to be super hard and it's not morning wood status. So
it's just it's like the Flavor Flav of wood products.
Flavor Flav, yeah. So
like
anyways,
it'll hold a hanging clock, but it's not like gonna hang it on the wall. Basically,
right. So
yeah.
I wake up. I got this massive morning wood, right? So I go to jump in the shower because I can't pee with morning wood. I'm not going to sit down and pee. It's not going to fit in the whole situation, right? Two, I'm not going to do that weird arching like yoga stance to try to pee in the toilet and get it everywhere.
The Irish
so I
style.
pee in the shower, right?
Yeah.
But I'm washing my hair, right? So I got soap in the eyes, soap in the face, and I'm just letting it go, right? And all of a sudden, I open my eyes, and my wife is turned around right in front of me. And I'm just pissing all over her. Right? I'm in full. This is like full on like Old Faithful piss. Like not just like a little drizzle. This is like Tom Hanks in A League of Their Own, 10-minute long piss. Okay, just going nuts. And then all of a sudden I make that face like, oh shit. And I look down, and this is not like like there's certain peas that are like it's not like asparagus pea, where it's fragrant, but it's
like a coffee pea maybe.
It's yellow as hell.
Okay.
And I'm like, please don't look down. And she just turns around. And I'm still peeing. And she just turns around. Now it's like all over belly button and everywhere. And she's just talking to me. And I'm just sitting there staring at her, washing my hair. Like, today's great. And I'm just peeing all over. And so I'm not into water sports. My wife, I don't think, is into being peed on. I'm not into peeing on her. But I pissed all over my wife.
So for reference... Because I know Katie will listen to this episode. Yeah. How long ago was this?
This was 6 years ago.
Okay, so she's had plenty of showers since then. Like, this didn't just happen the other day.
Yeah, no, this isn't recent. This is a secret I've been holding in my back pocket for years. Like, I just pissed all over you, but why would I tell you? Like, because here's the thing, B-Word. How do you tell somebody, hey, I peed on you, you don't know it, and it was not a situation where it needed to be known?
Well, so I have a story similar to that, and it actually took like 15 years for me to actually tell her. So I went camping at a lake with my grandparents, right? And the lake is more of a mud puddle than it is a lake. But regardless, my uncle, when we went out there, so for those that are familiar with lakes in northern Nevada, have you ever been to Lahontan, Jake?
To where?
Lahontan. It's right out. So it's right in between Fernley and Carson City.
No.
Okay. So anyway, it's basically, like I said, it's basically a mud puddle.
Okay.
But there's barely any trees. There's an overabundance of sun, and the water's brown. Like, and when I say brown, it's like brown. And
like
so shit brown. Yeah, like a diarrhea puddle. Oh. And so we're staying in my grandma and grandpa's in my grandma and grandpa's RV. And their bathroom wasn't working, but there was bathrooms near our little campsite there. And I was probably 12, maybe. And my uncle came up to me and he says, hey, you better not use those bathrooms because the flies will eat the shit right out of your butthole. So I was scared. So I didn't shit, dude, for like 4 days. Okay.
Oh my God.
Like 4 or 5 days. And meanwhile, like my stomach is cramping, dude. Like I'm farting to the point that I can't fart anymore. Like there's just this big meteor in my stomach, right? And so I literally can't like move at this point. And so I go into the lake and my cousin Amber is right behind me. And she is splashing me at this point. And I'm like, this fucking little bitch. She needs to stop splashing me, right? And so I'm like, Amber, get the fuck away. And she's like, ha, 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 I'm splashing you. Ha, 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 ha. At that point, dude, my legs fucking went into the fetal position and I'm in a float just right there. And I knew it was happening. So I pulled my pants down. And of course, you can't see in the lake. So I pull my pants down and I'm getting rid of this massive fucking turd that I've been holding on for at least half a week while she's fucking splashing me right from behind me, right? And so once this thing fucking left, I'm like, oh my God, where's it at? So of course, me being young that I am, I don't understand that there's a water current, right? Yeah. No, I don't understand that there's a water current. And so like I look at the beach and I see this rock and I'm like, okay, I shit from that rock into the lake, right? So I don't swim in the area in front of that rock. Well, later on in the day, dude, I feel this fucking thing next to my leg, and a slimy motherfucking thing, right? And I'm like, oh no, it found me, right? And so I'm reaching down and I'm like pushing it away in the water. And it's like, it found me again. And I'm like, what the fuck? And so I reached down because I was just going to pull it out and like throw it. And I reached down and I grabbed the motherfucking thing. It was a fish. To this day, bro, I don't know if I shit on my cousin or if I actually gave birth to a fish.
I think you shit a fish, dude. I think you shit. Did you ever watch The Simpsons? Remember that three-eyed fucking fish?
Yeah.
That's what came out of your butthole that day.
It probably did.
You know what's funny though is like when you describe Nevada lakes. Like they all, if you said to anybody there's a lake in Nevada, everybody instantly thinks it's just a puddle of diarrhea. Like let's just be honest, it's unless it's Lake Mead, and nobody even knows Lake Mead's in Nevada. Essentially, they think it's Arizona or whatever near the Hoover Dam, and nobody knows where the fuck that is. They essentially think if water exists in Nevada, it's all shit brown, and that's a true case right there.
It is, and the thing about it is that actually in Nevada there's some really really pretty lakes, but you have to hit like the Sierras, so like where Lake Tahoe is, or you have to go to eastern Nevada out by like
so
Elko.
where you're not shitting in the water,
right? Yeah, you don't want to shit in the water. But I did tell my cousin that, so we actually we were roommates for a little bit. And she pissed me off one night. I don't remember what she did, but she pissed me off one night. And I was like, you know what, Amber? I shit on you. And she goes, you what? Like in the middle of an argument, just completely stops her side of the argument and goes, you what? And I said, yeah, I shit on you in the lake. And so I go into the story, and she was flabbergasted. And of course, originally I thought that she was I think she thought that I was joking until I went into like the detail and she remembered circumstances.
But see, here's the thing: like what's a better comeback to that, right? Like, I pissed or shit on you, unless, like I said, unless that's what you're into. Like there's nothing to say against that.
No, and candidly, when it comes to like bedroom stuff or quote unquote bathroom stuff in the bedroom, like I'm not into any of that. So,
No, I'm gonna say this, and it's fine. He knows it because that's who he is. But you know who was? The TravisT.
The TravisT, yeah.
My mom, and here's the best part. My mom.
Wait, TravisT and your mom did this?
No. My mom found out he was. And here's the thing. She didn't realize. So I made a joke one time that he likes golden showers.
Right.
So me and my mom bought him a shirt that says, "I love golden showers."
Oh, no.
And she didn't know what it meant.
Oh,
but then afterwards, she hands it to him and goes, well, it all makes sense anyways. He's a fucking perv.
Oh, that's so funny. So I've got a buddy of mine, okay, I talked about him before, OMP. And this man has not had good luck with bodily fluids, okay? So he ends up meeting this girl at a flea market, no less. And he I'm driving. I am out of town driving, and he tells me, "Hey, I met this girl. She's super hot. I'm, talking to her. I think it's going to go very well, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Hey, man, go for it. Enjoy." Well, then it comes out that she's married, and he's like, I'm not into that. And so I'm like, "Yeah, man, just stay away from that, whatever." And then later on in the night, he ends up sending me a text message. He's like, her husband is asking me to take her home. And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, that's up to you. I wouldn't do it, but whatever." And so, so the next day, so I get back from where I was driving. I didn't get back till way late at night. And 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm still asleep, 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm getting calls from Pat over and over and over. And so I end up picking up the phone, and I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "I have to talk with you about last night." I'm like, "Okay, well, what are you talking about? What's going on?" And he's like, "Well, remember that lady at the flea market that I was telling you about?" "Yeah." "Well, I took her home, and it was great. We killed a bottle of wine. She took her clothes off. I took my clothes off. We go into the bedroom. We're doing things for a long time. We stop. We come back out to the kitchen. We get some water. And then as she's going back into the bedroom, she points behind her, and I'm right behind her in the hallway, and she goes, 'My poopies are coming out.' And these brown ribbons are lying all over my fucking linoleum floor." And then she realizes that she's pooping. So she goes into the bathroom, and she sits on the toilet to finish her poop, except for she doesn't lift the lid. So she's shitting on top of the toilet. Then she wipes down the middle, but it was all spread on the cheeks. So then she hops into my bed. And I am fucking flabbergasted at this story, right? And I'm like, no, she didn't do that.
My poop.
So you know what he did? You know what he did? He cleaned her all up, and he threw his sheets and stuff in the washer. And they did it again, and then he sent her on her way. And I'm like, "Buddy, you are more of a person than I am, because she would have been outside no matter what she was wearing or what was on her butt cheeks, because that is just not good enough, my man."
See, I have a rule. As an adult, if you shit your pants, we're not friends.
Right.
Here's the funny thing. I was actually talking the other day at a restaurant, in there, and ran into some people I know, and I said that, and the guy one of my friends got mad at me. He was like, "What do you mean you never had a shark you couldn't trust?" And I said, "No." He's like, yeah, you have." I'm like, "No." And so he got so defensive, he's convinced I shit my pants once, which I love it when somebody else has done something, right?
Right.
And then they want to argue with you that you've done it too, because now they're embarrassed.
They need to feel better about themselves.
He's like, "Well, I shit my pants before in public," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Good for that. Then we're not." He's like, we're not friends anymore." I was like, "Dude, you're a fucking adult. How do you shit your pants?" And so he's like, "Well, I went to fart and it just wasn't a fart." I'm like, "Dude, how do you get to that level? I know the difference if my ass is gonna let something out that I don't want, versus I just need to let a toot out, right? Like Eminem would say." And see, I have a few stories behind this. Now, one also involves the travesty, and this is one of my favorite shit your pants stories. We, in high school, went to Taco Bell for lunch, because remember, in high school, we can go off campus. So
right.
Remember, he had that nice blue El Camino?
Yeah.
And so we go, and it's me, him, and Josh Hainesy's sitting in the middle. And Travis, orders his Taco Bell. We all ordered ours. And all of a sudden, Travis leans over. And in high school, everybody farted. That's what guys did, right? So he goes to fart. Well, he shits his pants. He literally shits his pants. And then he makes that, oh no face, right? Right. And then we're looking at him. So he gets his food. Then we drive back to campus, and we're looking at him like, "Dude, you sort of crapped your pants. Go fix it." He goes, "No, I want to eat my Taco Bell first." So that was key sign one, that you don't eat your Taco Bell first. Now, mind you, thinking about Taco Bell, I'm like, well, maybe he was smart, but then I'm like, no. Well, secondly, Travis, he walks into high school. Now, you remember Pahrump Valley High School. You walked into the east side doors, and then there was the gymnasium to the left, remember? And then there was the bathroom at the end. Well, that day, the bathrooms on the left were closed. And you remember, the next bathrooms are all the way across the building.
Yeah.
So TravisT is walking in his cargo shorts with crap in him, doing that duck waddle, the goose walk.
You like
got
ducks.
Shit in his pants. Yeah. He's got that goose walk going. And everybody and their mother is stopping to talk to him. And me and Haynes are just laughing at that point because we know he's got shit in his pants and nobody else knows. Second one was, I was dating a girl, and you know this girl. She was actually an ex-fiance of mine. I don't care. I'm going to say her name because fuck her. Britt.
Oh, yeah, that bitch.
Right. Not a fan of this woman, so we can say whatever.
She is a terrible human. We're just going to put that on the record.
That I will say, terrible human being. So we both worked together at Nordstrom at a time, right? And this is where I actually came up with this exact rule, B word, and it was because I was working, right, as an adult human being, living as a single dad, paying my bills, living the adult life where mom's not around, there's no crutches, right?
Right.
And all of a sudden, I get a call from, she worked on the second floor, I worked on the first, she's in a different department, and she goes, hey, I need you to come help me. I'm thinking, what do you mean you gotta help? I gotta help you. Like, we're at work right now.
Right.
And she goes, hey, I need you to come upstairs. So I go upstairs to her apartment. I don't see her. So all of a sudden her coworkers go, hey, she's in the back, like in the dressing room. Can you go help her? So I'm thinking, what the hell happened, right? Like, did somebody like grope her or anything? So I go back there. She shit herself.
Oh, no.
She shit herself at work. Okay? Now, she's in a pencil skirt and a thong, and she shit herself. And the reason she shit herself, she was like on at the time, trying to lose weight, or I don't know what girls do. She was taking like those pills like what Anna Nicole Smith took, to like just fast get fat out of your body as fast as possible.
Right.
So she shit herself. She goes, I need you to drive me home. So I'm like, okay, well, mind you, I'm in a 3-piece suit because that's what you wore at Nordstrom, right?
Right.
She goes, well, I can't walk out of here. And I look, and she stands up, and there's shit all over her legs. Like, this is not like a normal, like, situation of, like, oh, a little drip came out. No, this is like a full-on adult shit your pants, and you look like a professional lawyer that just sat in a pile of pig shit, okay? So she goes, I need to borrow your jacket. And I look at her like, fuck you do. So she takes my suit jacket and wraps her on her legs. I had to carry this woman out covered in shit to my car and drive her home. This is where the rule came from, B-word. Because I will say, she was a good-looking woman. Very good-looking woman. We're not going to deny that part. But you shit your pants at work in public. It wasn't even like you were drunk and you have an excuse. You were just
or you were sick
work.
Or something. Yeah, you're
right.
At
You
work.
just shit your pants. Well, you're whatever. You just shit yourself. And I had to take you home. And that's where the rule comes from.
So she was a very pretty girl. Okay. But I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had bodily functions in the bedroom? Like, I'm not talking piss or shit. I'm talking just bodily functions in general.
Yeah.
So, somebody rips a fart, right?
Right.
Well, shortly after my buddy OMP got shit on, there was a girl who she had dated somebody while I was dating somebody else, and then she broke up with somebody and I started dating somebody else, and then we always kind of had this crush on each other, right?
Right.
And at this particular moment, we're both single, and she's, I've got a child, she's got a child. Yeah, the stars align, and I'm living down in Vegas at the time, and I go to this bar, and that's where we met up. And of course we catch up. We're probably we literally talk for maybe 30 or 45 minutes, just really good conversation. And she goes, hey, I got a ride here. Would you mind if, you gave me a ride back to my house? And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. That's fine. No big deal. So I take her back to her house, and I literally have no expectations that we're going to do anything. Right. But as I walk in, she's like, oh, this is my living room. And, oh, yeah, I just did this to my kitchen and blah, blah, blah. And, oh, come back here. You need to see my master bathroom. I'm like, OK, whatever. And at this point, I'm just, just oblivious to what she's trying to do. She's trying to seduce me, ultimately. And so we go into her bedroom, and she shows me what she did to her bathroom. And all of a sudden, her clothes just hit the ground. And I'm like, oh, OK. All right. Well, I'll see you later. And she's like, oh, you're not going to stay? And I was like, oh, okay. All right. So, yeah, I get what's going on here. So we start kissing, and we start doing some other stuff. And then, I'm at the side of the bed, and I'm holding on to her legs and doing things, right? And all of a sudden, like, there's this smell that's like when you smell something that you taste it, right? Just
Yeah,
nasty, just like right
mouth,
in the right in the back of your tongue, but on each side, just this really nasty. And so I'm like, oh my god, well. So I'm talking to myself, like in the middle of trying to do things, I'm talking to myself and I'm like, how do I, like you talked about like morning wood or average wood, like I'm not even average wood at this point. And I'm just like, how do I keep it in? Right.
Right.
So I'm like, hey, I got to go to the bathroom real quick. So I go to the bathroom. And if you've ever seen that movie with Mel Gibson, What Women Want, where he's giving himself a pep talk, like that was me. I was giving myself a pep talk. I'm like, dude, we have wanted to be here for years and we're here. So you and I have to make this happen, right? We have to do this. And my little man's looking up at me and he's like, yes, sir, we could do this. And so I go out into the bedroom and I'm ready to slay. And she goes, I'm really sorry. I farted. And my buddy had just gotten shit on like within the last few weeks.
Right.
And so I don't know what people's bodily clock is. Like if you fart, it's like, oh, hey, in 20 minutes I got to take a shit. I don't know what her clock is. So the fact that she farted, I wasn't going to risk being shit on. So I put on my clothes and left. It was just not going to happen. To this day, dude, we have not spoken. Like I feel terrible because I never like gave her a reason as to why I left. Mm-hmm. But at the risk of not being shit on, man, that was an easy loss. I was good with it. I'm
gonna ask you this, and I mean, I've complimented you on this show before, saying that you always pull tens, B-word, because you do.
Not always. Not always.
Well, you don't tell me about the other ones then. But what I usually see, or we talk about, you pull some fucking lookers, bro. Now, mind you, I my wife is an amazing looking woman. I've been with good looking women, but. Can I ask you this? And you don't have to. I mean, I'm going to ask you about this one, but we can get into depth on this.
Okay.
Was how on a scale of 1 to 10, how hot was that chick that farted?
Oh, she was probably an 8.
Okay. Now, do you like I know they have that scale, like what is it, the crazy hot scale?
Oh, the
like
crazy hot matrix.
Right. The crazy hot.
Yes.
Now, I have another matrix, and I know me and you have agreed on this.
Oh yeah.
That the hotter they are, the worse they are in bed.
You are absolutely correct.
It's got to be true, dude. I mean,
it is true. It is true. And here's the reason why. Here's the reason why. Okay, so at the risk of not having any viewers this week, Mama Madosic and B-Word's mom, you guys need to tune out, right? It just needs to happen. Like, turn this off. Visit us again next week. If we don't have any more listeners, totally fine. However, with that little disclaimer there, the hotter the woman, the less she thinks that she has to do.
Right, they lay there like a fish. They think, oh, you're lucky you're here.
It is your privilege that I am giving this to you. And here's the thing, man. Like, as I've gotten older, I appreciate intimacy quite a lot more than I do just a standard of the mill lay. You know? And so I like it when people are going back and forth in the mix of things. Like, you do a little bit of work, she does a little bit of work. Like, you do a little bit of this, she does a little bit of this. Like, it's a give and take. With a hot chick, it's all a take. Like, she's taking everything. And it's
not taken in a good way. Like, oh, you're taking this. It's just, you're just going to lay there and I'm doing all the work. And thank God I'm here. And then the worst part is they usually complain that you were bad. And it's like, no, I fucking built the house. I did the flooring. I did everything. And you were there.
Yeah, that was it.
I had a chick in college. You never got to meet her, but the TravisT did, which was funny. But her name was Whitney.
Okay.
And she was smoking, right? And I'll never forget, I actually met her in drama class, like theater. And her and I just started talking as friends. And then all of a sudden, I you know me, I've been oblivious to women for a long time, with a lot of moments.
Yes.
She followed every class I was ever in. And I never took that as a sign, right? But everybody else did. And like about 2.5 years in UNR, she her and I were talking. We were in study groups and everything together. And then one night, we both lived in apartments. We were both at Sterling Heights. Do you remember where that was?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. I lived in those apartments. So I was up on the hill, living in Sterling Heights, and so is she. And one night, she just hits me up about, like I said, about 2.5 years in. She goes, "Hey, you want to come over? I'm having a party." And I go over, and I did not realize that there was no party. This was a pants party, and I was the only one invited. And I show up thinking there's a party, so I sit on the couch and start talking to her roommates. So everybody already thinks I'm a fucking weirdo. So we end up going to her room, and we're making out and everything. And I'll never forget, this was the most, I was proud of myself for this moment, right, B-word? Because this chick is smoking hot. And she's getting naked, and I'm getting naked. And all of a sudden she goes, "Aren't you just so happy you're here?" And I'm thinking, yeah, I am happy. I'm really happy. This is awesome. And then she kept having the conversation.
You're like Steve Carell in the 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Right. At first I'm like, this is great. I'm here.
They feel like bags of sand.
Yeah. Like, your bags of sand feel great. And, oh, please give me more.
Como se llama? No, Kelly Clarkson.
So all of a sudden, now all of a sudden she's just having a fucking conversation with herself, and I'm just there. And she's just laying there, and I'm on top trying to get the work going. And she goes, "You're lucky to be here." And then all of a sudden I go, What the fuck did you just say? And she goes, "Well, I mean, a guy like you, and then there's me." And that's when I started to realize this B-word. Like, she was literally going to lay there all night and just let me hump the hell out of her like a dog at a party, at a martini party that just grabbed some woman's leg that walked in, right?
Yeah.
And I was happy to do that at first. I was happy until you told me I was a bad dog. And as soon as you told me I was a bad dog, I'm like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. You hit me in the face with a newspaper, you rolled it up, and you told me I was not good enough for you. Then get the fuck out. Get over yourself. And that's when I walked out and I was done. And then I started to realize, like, the hotter she is, the more, it's like, oh, I'm a freak. No, you're not. You can barely do the doggy style. You don't know what you're doing. You're as vanilla as fucking ice cream in my freezer. You are not fun. You don't do anything new. You just have a pretty face and have gotten through life. And I'm not saying guys aren't like that too. There's probably a lot of dudes that are bad lays that got six packs that, just think they're so all that. It's just the point. Majority of the time when you are with a super hot chick, she is not the greatest lay in your life.
She's not.
There are so many thicky thicks out there that do such a better job and are freakier than the chick that's a fucking 10, dude. I guarantee you a 3 will lay you harder in your life.
Hot chicks don't ride dick.
No.
They don't. Because they want to sit there and they want to lay. They just want to lay on their back, or they want to like roll over to their stomach, or they want to like lift a leg up, or occasionally they'll like bend over at the side of the bed, right? But they don't arch their back. They don't give it back to you in any sort of way.
They don't kegel. They don't even know what a fucking kegel is.
I would much rather be with a freaky 5 than a perfect 10.
I think hot chicks think a kegel is a Kardashian sister, not something they do with their vag.
No, they think a kegel is a bagel that's keto.
That makes more sense, B-word. You are right. They are as keto as fuck, dude. Their vagina is keto. Nobody wants to eat it, but everybody's trying it out.
I would, like I said, man, I would much rather be with a freaky 5 than a perfect 10 because it's fun, and because when you're sitting here with a perfect 10, yeah, I mean, sure, you get bragging rights, and you're like, oh yeah, look who I was with.
Right.
But were you though?
But
were you with her?
I used to have that, and you know this. I used to have that rule and that joke that I used to tell my friends, like, you could sleep with five women in your life, right? Mm-hmm. And you'll always remember your first, your last, your best, and your worst, right?
Oh yeah,
and the hottest. But your friends will only remember one. Yep. And they will always remember the ugliest chick you slept with.
The moped.
I think, well, the Grenado, the fucking cow tipper, the one you jumped on for the team. I think it needs to change to the hottest one you ever went, because I guarantee you, most guys, if we all sat there and got together and we showed a smoking hot picture of a chick, unless you're with that hot woman now, and good for you, you married her, you wifed her up and everything. But we've all been there, where you went down to Mexico, you had a party weekend, you met the Instagram model, and you banged her out for a weekend. It sucked. It was not as cool as you thought. All you can do is show the picture and go, I got that. And good for you got it. But you might as well have fucked a pocket pussy with her face on it, because it wasn't anything good.
That's like catching like this massive fish in a lake and throwing the fish back.
It's like catching a massive fish and finding out it's a fucking carp.
Right. You took a picture of it and everybody's like, oh my God, that's a big fish. And holy cow, how'd you get that? And whatever. But at the end of the day, you still threw it back. And there's a reason why you threw it back. It's because it's not a fucking edible fish. It's a terrible fish.
It was slimy. Yeah. And the fight sucked. The fight didn't get you off. It was just
Right.
like you fucking hooked a grass carp, bro. Good for you.
Right.
Nobody cares. Go on with your fucking life.
So I had a theory once, and I don't have this theory anymore. But on Superbad, when they're talking about the best kinds, right?
Yeah.
And so they got the big veiny ones and whatever, and all the food, like all the food shaped like dick is the best kinds. So I had a theory that bigger women are great at fellatio.
Yeah, I had this argument with you before where, of course they are. They can slurp down a hot dog faster than anybody else.
You would think. So I met this woman, and this is this is a long time ago. And she was quote unquote tons of fun, right? But she reached out to me and she's like, "Hey, I really like you, blah blah blah." Like we had mutual friends and stuff, and she's like, "Hey, I really like you. Would you ever think about dating me?" And I'm like, to be honest with you, I don't really know you, and I am not the person who goes for looks, dude. It just doesn't happen. Like I know I end up with very pretty girls, but it just doesn't happen where I'm like all about looks, right?
Right.
And so I was like, why don't we just grab some coffee or something and just have a chat? I mean, worst case scenario, we're friends, right? No big deal.
Right.
So we meet up and we chat and we have a good, it was a good visit, whatever. But she was into things that I wasn't into. Like it just didn't mesh. It just wasn't going to happen. And so I'm like, I'd really just like to be friends and just see where it goes from there, which is guy code for it's probably never going to happen unless you're actually like in a position where you can't, right? And so I'm sitting here and I'm telling her that. Well, she reaches out to me and she says, "Hey, look, I know that, you're in a position where you just want to be friends, but like, would you be okay hooking up?" And I'm like, no, I really wouldn't. Like we hadn't hooked up. It wasn't anything. Well, then I hit, I was with a girl and we were together for a little while. Great relationship. It just didn't work for a couple of reasons, but overall it was a good relationship. And then we split up. So this is several months after this conversation. And so she reaches out and she's like, "Hey, I saw that you just, separated from your girlfriend and blah, blah, blah. And, I'm just curious, would you want to hang out?" And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean by hang out?" Because at this point, like, I don't want to be like getting her hopes up, And she's like, "Look, all I want to do is blow you." And I was like,
Good for you, yeah.
Well, I mean, so at this point, I'm like rationalizing the best kinds. I mean, I'm sure she eats popsicles, she eats corn dogs. She probably likes to chow down on cotton candy. Like she probably eats pixie sticks by the throat. So I'm like, okay, let's try it, right? No big deal. So I go up to her apartment and she starts to perform, at least for what I think. Well, so let me back up real quick. So I went into her apartment, and of course she attacks me, dude. Like it looked like I was a cookie or something. She attacks me, and so I turned off the lights. It might be petty of me, but I turned off the lights. And so she goes down, and she's supposedly doing something, and I don't feel it. It feels like somebody put a jar of mayonnaise there. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And
Miracle Whip or the good kind?
I don't know, man. It wasn't Best Foods, I can tell you that much. And so like I flipped the light on and like she's down there, like there's no jar of mayonnaise, and I'm just like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm really not that good at this. But if you'd like, we can have sex." And this was another time where I was an asshole, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't think so." And so
I don't really want to do that.
And I left. And bless her heart, dude. I feel terrible, right? I feel terrible because I feel like I'm shallow here. I feel like I'm shallow here. But the reality of it is that I wasn't there for a lay. I was there for a blowjob. Kevin Hart talks about, the difference between, I think it's Kevin Hart. It's Kevin Hart or it's, what's the other little guy? No, the other little guy. Cat Williams. They're always one of them talks about the difference between a meal and a hot pocket. Like there are times where you want an actual meal, but there are other times where a hot pocket is satisfactory. And the hot pocket in this scenario is a blowjob. And the blowjob is what I was looking for. I was looking for a hot pocket. I wasn't looking for a hot
Not her hot pocket.
Right. And so it just didn't work out. And, you know, bless her heart. I mean, to this day,
Are you friends with her still?
No.
Yeah,
well,
I didn't think so.
So she took offense, and I don't blame her for taking offense. Like, I really feel bad because I was kind of an asshole. But, you know, it was a different time. I was a lot younger then. I didn't really have the sort of respect and all that sort of stuff.
Mouth sucks, and not in a good way.
Yeah.
That's almost like as bad.
At least she didn't use teeth.
Well, going back, I had a super hot chick one time, and no joke, as she was down there, she asked me if she needs to suck or blow. And at that point, I said, if you have to ask that question, we're done here. And I just left. I mean, that's a... What are you fucking... No, I'm sorry. I'm trying to be nice here, Beaver, and I'm not going to say what I was going to say, but come on.
So you know who Ralphie May is, right? The comic.
Oh yeah.
Rest
Big
in
fan
peace.
of Ralphie May.
Love Ralphie May. It's such a funny comedian. It's just sad that he left, you know, way too early in this world. But he used to have this bit where he was talking about going to this party, and one of his friends ends up going into the bedroom and falls asleep. And while he was asleep, somebody came into the room and gave him a blowy. And then he finished and whatever, and the person left, and he didn't know who it was. And he's like, but I know for a fact it wasn't a dude. And he's like, well, how do you know it wasn't a dude? And he's like, because she used teeth. So women with their teeth, man, it's just like a, you know, I don't know. Do you like teeth, dude?
No, I don't like teeth, but I mean, I got the dick scrape every now and then. I mean, the funny thing is when girls think it's playful and they're like, I'm going to rub my teeth against this. Like, why? I don't...
Yeah, I'm going to pinch your clitoris and we're going to have
let me go down there and bite on it and tell me how you feel. No, I got a story. Speaking of getting a blowy with nobody knowing it, did I ever tell you the story where my brother got a blowjob and the travesty had to pee?
No.
So... in college, the travesty had his own house, like right near UNLV, right? This is when me and him had a radio show at the time, right? So he had a 2-bedroom house, but for some reason, and I'll have to try to see if I find these pictures. The travesty slept in his dining room. Because remember, he's an interesting dude, right?
Right.
We love him, but he put a mattress against the wall instead of a table because he said he has no reason to eat at a table. He'd rather sleep on the tile floor with a mattress there because then more people can hang out.
Okay, sound logic, I suppose.
So he had a mattress in the dining room. Well, anyways, my brother comes out to party with us one weekend, and I was dating this girl. I was dating Jenny at the time, and UNR, and her best friend was Jenny as well, and Jenny was in town, and so the Jennies were there, and we're having a party, and all of a sudden, my girlfriend's best friend had a thing for my brother, which, you know, my brother's a good-looking dude, good for him, and she wanted him bad, right? So all of a sudden, the next morning we wake up and Travis, he's tired and he's like a little angry. We're like, "What's going on, dude?" We're all at Denny's. He goes, "Fuck your brother." We're sitting there. My brother's just sitting there eating pancakes. Like, what the fuck's your problem, dude? And he's like, "I was up all night because of you." My brother's thinking, "Why the hell were you up?" Because he goes, "You sleep in your dining room. You couldn't sleep because you sleep on a tile floor, asshole." So, anyways, when I found out, Travis starts going through this elaborate story of what happened. Well, apparently Jenny came down and goes down to my brother and goes, "I really want to suck your dick." My brother's like, "I don't want anything. No, thank you." She's like, please just let me suck your dick, please. And Travis goes, so not only am I sitting there, I'm having to listen to this guy turn this girl down, begging to suck his dick. And he goes, I want my dick sucked. And there you are, right next to me on the couch, being a little bitch, like, no, I don't want my dick sucked. Please leave me alone. So what happened was, my brother's getting a blowy, right? And she's going, and my brother's sitting there, and he's making noises. And Travis, goes, well, I had to fucking piss. He goes, but being a cool bro I am, I tried not to, like, move. I was sitting there going, okay, I can hold it for a bit. And he goes, and then 30 minutes goes by, and your brother's over there still getting his dick sucked. And I'm going, come on, Caleb, come. And I can see her, and she's doing that thing where she's, like, you know, trying to get it going, and your brother's just sort of later. All of a sudden, I sit up, and I just go, God damn it, Caleb, come. And he goes... She sits up and goes, holy crap, and runs out. And he goes, all I see is your brother's erect penis, a girl run up, and your brother's asleep. So Travis goes, so I get up, and I go pee outside like a normal person.
Outside like a normal person.
And so Caleb's just sitting there pancakes, and he goes, hey, fuck you, I don't care. But to this day, the travesty is mad at my brother for getting his dick sucked and falling asleep in the middle. And travesty going, I'm a gentleman trying to let you come, and you're over there sleeping.
Oh, that's funny. So I have a theory. Women in general, and I don't want to be misogynistic in my comment here, but women in general are more of a hinter, whereas men are more of like brash. They're more upfront. You know what I mean? And so when I hear some of these stories, dude, I'm just mesmerized because, you know, how stupid we were. You know what I mean? Like, we're coaxed into it, you know, and it's not like they really had to coax us into it. They could have been upfront and forthright and just said, here's what we want to do. And we're like, oh, okay. And then we just yeah. Oh, you gotta pet the rabbit, George. You just gotta pet it. It's so soft, George.
I like soft bunnies. I like to touch it. No, like that's the thing. Like I tell my wife all the time. Like, you know, if like, because me and her have known each other. We knew each other 10 years before we dated. And she's asked the question like, oh, were you attracted to me? Yeah, I was attracted to her. She was a hot woman. I just said, I'm glad we never dated though. And she's like, why? I was like, it's more because of me. It had nothing to do with her. And maybe back then it wouldn't have worked out because of her either. But I knew who I was and how I was, that I would have fucking ruined it, dude. Like, I was in a different place. So like when we say things like we're not trying to be misogynistic or anything, we're not. But we were idiots at a certain point. We were the epitome of like you, B-word, like, I'm just here for a blowjob. You're not gonna even. All right, see you later. I'm putting my pants on and leaving, and now we're not friends anymore. And it's like,
I can't tell you how many times I did the Jim Carrey from the Truman Show. I'm like, see you later.
Oh, dude, I can't tell you how many times I was Jim Carrey and Liar going, I've had better. I've had better. What the hell do you mean you have better? Yeah, you're just there. You're a 10 on the scale. Of course I've had better. You just laid there like a fucking salmon that I slapped.
If people haven't realized, we don't have a filter. Like, it just doesn't happen. And I really wish that sometimes we would, because I can look back at times like that and go, hey, maybe I could have said this, and it wouldn't have like delivered in the wrong way. You know what I mean? And yet we can't really go back and change that.
No, and I feel you on that. I mean, I wish I have a filter at times, but then also I realize that I wouldn't be who I am. Like, people think I'm hilarious. I mean, and some people do, some people don't. We're an acquired taste. I get that. There are people that listen to the show, and there's other people that just won't.
Speaking of filters, so last week I went down to Las Vegas. And I met up with Tomas, and I dropped off some homemade beer that I made for the bottom of the lineup boys. So Tomas, shout out to the bottom of the lineup boys. Shout out to Will and Tomas. They actually shouted us out, shouted me out on this last podcast that they had. Ultimately, I went and delivered some beer to them, some local brews, and also some home brews that I have. So it was really fun. But when I came back, this was a midweek trip. When I came back, I had a really hard time trying to be motivated because that drive just takes it out of me. And so this weekend I was super tired, and I'm like, well, if I'm just tired and I'm sitting around, I might as well just go to the movie theater, you know? So Free Guy's out, the new Ryan Reynolds movie. And so I was like, okay, well, you know, I've heard some good reviews on it. Let's go see it. So I show up at the movie theater 10 minutes before the movie's supposed to start. Little did I know that every fucking kids movie on God's green earth is premiering this particular weekend. And I hadn't eaten anything like all day. And so I was really looking forward to just getting some nachos and going into the movie. And so, everybody and their little kids was in the concession line. And so I knew if I was, you know, I didn't want to like go into the movie theater and like sit at my seat and then have to come out in the middle of the movie for concessions and then go back, you know? So it's like, okay, whatever, I'll miss the previews. Except for I didn't miss just the previews. I missed like the previews, which is probably 15 minutes, and the first 10 minutes of the movie. And I hate that, dude. Like so that started off bad. And so I finally get my stuff and I go into the movie theater. And it's a reserved seat. I'm in V8, my fucking seat. And I go in, and the entire V row is fucking taken with people. Like, somebody took my fucking seat. And it's 10 or 15 minutes into the movie, so I don't want to cause a scene. So I had to sit in an entirely different row and watch the movie. And then I didn't realize that at the end of the movie, like, there was a character that was introduced that came back in the movie that was introduced in the beginning of the movie that I missed. It was fucking stupid, dude. Like, the movie was good. If you get a chance to watch Free Guy, go ahead and watch it. But I'm telling you, I hate it when shit is disturbed like that. And I know that you're particular about your seats. Now, your seat number is I what?
I-13.
I-13.
All right, 14.
I-14. So, in this scenario, what would you do? So, you have to wait in line for the concessions.
Okay.
You find that somebody's in your seat. Do you A, not wait in line and just go see the movie? Do you B, wait in line and then chastise the person in your seat? Do you C, do you just say, you know what, I'm going to go a different time? What do you do? How do you handle that?
I sit on them. I'm that guy, dude. I mean, see, like in my mind, I'm thinking I just go in and sit. But I'm that guy. Also, I'll just stand in front of people and stare at them until I make them feel so stupid they move.
Right.
Because, like, I mean, literally, like, you're either going to punch me in the face and it's going to be a bad day for somebody, whether it's me getting knocked out or you getting kicked out or anything, right? Or you're going to feel like a fucking idiot when I go, yeah, really? Like, the only difference is, B-word, if the theater's pretty damn empty, like, there are levels, right? So, like, let's say you go and there's 5 people in the theater and your seat's taken, but there's so many rows and so many empty seats.
Yeah, good with that.
At that point, I'd be like, fuck this, I'll let it go. But I've had this happen, and this was, I've told this story before, when I went in and I ruined that second new Star Wars movie, the crappy one where Luke dies. Somebody took my seat that night too, so I was already in a bad mood about everything, and so I had to sit in the very front of that theater.
Terrible seat.
Which is the
Terrible
worst seat in the theater, right? I'm not a child. I don't want to I don't want a bad neck. All that. But yeah, no, I would literally just stand in front of somebody until they move. And I don't care. I'd make them all move. I've done that to people. I've shined a flashlight on their face and said, hey, do you know how to read?
All
You're in the wrong
on
damn seat.
Well, there you go.
Right, Yeah, I had one guy complain one time because I wasn't wearing socks. And my wife goes, oh, be nice. I was like, fuck this guy. He doesn't like I'm not wearing socks. He goes, oh, I bet your feet smell. I said,
well,
fuck
maybe
you,
if he was
dude.
sitting in the right seat, he would realize
get out
that
of
your
here.
feet don't smell. Right?
Right, he wouldn't care.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even have mattered. That was my whole point. But I know, so I guess there's levels, but I think there is seat etiquette, and it pisses me off when people don't follow it. Because the only time I've ever broken seat etiquette, and I'll admit this, B-word, is like if I go to like a ball game or something, right? And like
that's understandable.
It's a pretty empty ball game.
Yeah.
And I bought shitty seats,
Right.
and then you run down and you take the good seats, and you hope the usher doesn't catch you. That's fine. But the assholes are the ones, and you've seen this. You get to a game and you have really good seats, right? You bought nice seats, and you get there and there's people sitting there, and it's usually some douchebag with his girl with a flat bill hat, and he's got those jogger like type of jeans that are like tight at the bottom, the weird jeans with too many zippers and shit. And you go, hey, and they're like, oh. And he does that fake thing where he looks at the ticket. We're in the wrong seats, babe. And then you watch them and you're like, yeah, you're in the top tier of the stadium, you moron. You're not on the floor seats of the Blazers like me. Get over your life. You suck. Like you look at them and they're just like, oh, I had no idea. Sorry.
So I missed the previews, and you and I both love the previews. Like
I love
it's an essential part of the movie. And so instantly, like, I was willing to sacrifice the previews for the nachos, but to sacrifice the previews and then part of the movie, like, that just chapped my ass. But there was a preview that came out 2 days ago, the new Spider-Man. Did you catch that?
I did.
Oh, what do you think, dude? You're not really excited about it, are you?
I hated Far From Home's trailer. And I think Far From Home is better than Homecoming. I've told you that. Just the Mysterio scene where he's fighting him.
Yeah.
It seemed like the most like comic book, like accurate fight scene in a long time.
Right.
And I know it's mainly based off of One More Day, that Spider-Man comic, which is a controversial comic already.
Which there's a lot of people who hate that comic.
I do. I hate that comic.
Yeah.
That comic series sucks. And here's the other reason, though, too. I expect Mephisto, and there's no Mephisto in it. It's like, I don't mind if you change characters a little bit and you change a little bit of storyline, but when you totally retcon when you say, hey, we're basing it on this comic, and then you don't base it on that comic.
See, I don't know that they've ever said that they're basing it on One More Day, but the whole storyline is based off of One More Day. But I don't think Mephisto's going to be in it. Like, I don't want to get into that conversation tonight. I just think that the reason why the One More Day comic was so terrible, like terribly received, is because they ended up retconning it to a point where it like diluted the character, and then they had to restart it all over again. Like they just took it way off of left field. And so I'm kind of happy that they're not doing that with this, or at least that I assume that they're not doing that with this.
They also had to do that though, B-word, because people were unhappy with the storyline they were writing. So it was like it's like if they would have made 3 Thor movies and went, "Oh, we really fucked all this up.
Yeah.
Let's redo this." That's what
so like Fox Fantastic Four is what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like now based on that though, who's the best Spider-Man out of the 3 iterations we've received in live action?
I think that there's a better Peter Parker and then there's a better Spider-Man. But I think if you're going to take, if you're saying, okay, which actor like Toby, Andrew, or Tom has the better of both worlds, I'm going to say Tom Holland. But I think that the better Peter Parker is Tobey Maguire, and the better Spider-Man is Andrew Garfield.
See, I here's the problem. Andrew Garfield, I think, is actually the best Spider-Man.
Really? Like all around?
No. I'll give Peter Parker to Tobey Maguire.
Okay, so you and I agree, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's the reason. Like just the scene where Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in the movie puts on the fireman hat and helps the clothes and makes the jokes.
Yeah.
Like that's the epitome of Spider-Man.
I agree.
Tom Holland, I think, and not mind you, I enjoy what he does. I think he does a great job. But I think it's that syndrome of you put good things around him. Mm-hmm. Great graphics, great storyline. You can't fail. I mean, you essentially put him in the MCU and you know it's not going to fail.
Right.
And Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, in the sense of like the characters he got to fight, the way he was Spider-Man, I think was the best iteration of Spider-Man.
I agree.
Tobey Maguire, I think, is the best Peter Parker, because the thing about Tobey Maguire was, one, when it first came out, he made you believe that he was an actual nerd, but almost a cool kid. Like he had all those strifes and struggles. The problem I have with Tom Holland's is he doesn't. Yeah, now in this new one, like, you know, everybody knows he's Peter Parker, but even in the other ones, it was pretty much just like, oh no, you have to run away and put on your suit really quick. It's not like the real struggles, like. You know, I mean, yeah, thank God we didn't have another Uncle Ben story. How many times we need to see that? But you know what I mean? Like, you don't actually see him have as many troubles besides a villain being the trouble. Not like Peter Parker's is, he might lose his house. He might not get the girl. He might not get the trash out in time for Aunt May.
He's struggling with his grades.
Right. Like, everything's a problem.
This one is... And it's, relatable from a teenage perspective.
Tom Holland's is, a rich guy wants to take you under and gives you a scholarship so you have a lie to go everywhere and you get a suit. Oh, I feel so bad for you. You're such a hero and you get everything handed to you and you have an excuse. Like, oh, you're going to Africa with Robert Downey Jr. this weekend. Oh my gosh, how would everybody get along? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, I think that from a storyline perspective, Spider-Man 2 is probably still the best storyline, like with Tobey, Spider-Man 2. When they introduced Doc Ock. But, I would really like to see a Tom Holland Spider-Man without an MCU character. And that's crazy for me to say, because for the longest time, I'm like so happy that Sony and Marvel are finally crossing over, right? And their worlds are crossing and storylines are crossing. And you know, when a couple of years ago or last year, no, I guess it was a couple of years ago, when Sony and Marvel had like their divorce and Tom Holland had to bring them back together, like I was kind of devastated over that, because I'm like, well, now what, you know? But I really want to see Tom Holland. I really want to see Tom Holland stand on his own 2 feet. And that's not a shot at Tom Holland's Spider-Man. That's a shot more or less at the writing and the storyline. But from a Spider-Man perspective, I think the best of both worlds is a Tom Holland, because he's a really good superhero. He's an adequate Peter Parker. But yeah, the best Peter Parker's Tobey, and the best Spider-Man, in my opinion, is Andrew Garfield. Now let me ask you this. So we've had Mary Jane in the Peter Parker, or I'm sorry, in the Tobey Maguire's movie, right?
Yeah, Kristen Dunst.
We had oh my gosh, what was Emma Stone's Gwen Stacy in that one?
Cat pee mouth. Yeah.
And and then we had MJ in this one, which is not Mary Jane. It's
Zendaya,
Zendaya or something. But her character name is not Mary Jane. It's something else, but she goes by MJ.
MJ, yeah.
Who's the better girlfriend in these?
Ned's girlfriend.
Betty
the
Brant?
The crazy girl in Far From Home.
Betty Brant?
I don't know. No, I'd say Kirsten Dunst, and I'm not a Kirsten Dunst fan, but I can't say Gwen Stacy because I think it was overacted, and I think Dennis Leary steals the show, and just seeing how Andrew Garfield had to stand up to Dennis Leary is hilarious. MJ, I think she's the epitome of new age, which there's nothing wrong with that. I think she's the epitome though, like she's not really MJ and we all know it, but we're going to put her in that place because she uses the initials and, we don't really know what it is. I don't think they know really what it is.
I think she said her name in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Well, she did. No, what I'm saying is though they act like it's like, we know it's not Mary Jane, but we're going to act like it's Mary Jane, but we're never really going to say that she is. That's my problem with it. It's a roundabout way of going about it. I think Kirsten Dunst did the best. Now, the problem is it's just like Spider-Man 3. We all want to write it off, right? Like, her acting in that and Tobey Maguire's acting in that, it was all mailed in. But the first two, yeah, they did a great job. Like, that upside-down kiss scene is one of the greatest scenes in comic book history.
Oh, it's legendary.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think she's the best iteration of that. See, my problem is Tom Holland, if I want to get back to this part, is like the Harry Potter of Spider-Man.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
I'm waiting for him to get older to really come out of his show. When he gets like a few more movies under his belt.
I don't know that they're going to do it, though. I really think that they want to introduce Miles Morales. And I think they're going to cut his storyline short, which at this point I'm okay with. But like Miles Morales is a great character. I love Miles Morales, but yeah.
It's rare that we agree, though, B-Word. I
know, man. I know.
And it's sad because I think Andrew Garfield. I think now, and I'll ask you this last one, real before we end. Who has the best suit?
I think for nostalgia reasons, I have to go with Toby or Toby. Toby, but it was the first time that I actually saw it on screen. And
it was the first time they made a suit that was functional and looked amazing.
Right. So I have to go with Toby only for that reason. But I think you can argue that any one of Tom Holland's suits are better practically for the storyline. I don't think that there's anything wrong with Andrew Garfield's ones. I just think it's too clunky. But I do like what they did with Toby, how they introduced it with Toby.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. I think Toby's was the best at the time. I thought it was a great iteration of it. I think Andrew Garfield's was just like how they treated the series. It was just a placeholder, knowing that they're trying to start something over that they knew was going to make money, and they didn't really care if it lasted.
Right.
And Tom Holland's like the same thing. I think it depends on which suit we're looking at.
Yeah.
The Iron Spider's amazing, but it's technically not an Iron Spider, right? It's a Dark Spider or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. That's how I feel about those. I mean, I'm interested to see the movie. I mean, I think it's gonna be better than how I feel about it. But I don't know. I thought the trailer was great. I just don't. I'm not like fanboying so hard over it.
It looks good. It looks good. I think it'll be a good movie. I'm really hoping that it'll be more entertaining than some of them. But yeah, overall it looks good, man.
Good.
Well, on that note, we have a new telephone number. And I want to shout this out. So for those of you in the audience that absolutely hate me or absolutely hate Jake, and you're just like, why in the ass are these two talking about whatever? I want to invite you to actually call us, leave us a message. If it's entertaining, we'll put you on the show. So the telephone number is 166-BLEACH-75. So 166-BLEACH-75. And for those of you that are younger than 30, you can find the letters for Bleach right on your telephone keypad. So just spell it out. But 166-BLEACH-75. Go ahead and leave us a voicemail. Let us know how we're doing. Give us some feedback. If you have a story or have a suggestion for content, please let us know there. Follow us on all of our socials at Bleach Bros Pod or at Bleach Bros Podcast. And be sure to follow, like, subscribe, comment, and share with a friend. And with that, Jake, what do you got for us?
Nothing except thanks for all the dirty talk. Come back and get sanitized.